And good morning. How are you guys this morning? Still cold and dreary, but a heck of a lot better than yesterday. Oh, and yesterday I did 3 live streams, and like, why is it that my mouth doesn't work today? And then after the third one, I'm like, oh, Lori, you're running a fever. So if you caught me yesterday, apologies. Actually, I don't think they were that bad. So at least I know that I can do this no matter what, right? It's always good to have things that you can do no matter what, and this is one of them. That's a handy thing to know. So that was our experiment yesterday without even knowing we were experimenting. Alrighty. Well, and I'm continuing on with our celebration of April, which is National Poetry Month, and these are poems that are meaningful to my history, my childhood mostly. My mom was an English teacher, so some of these I was introduced to quite early. Some of them I found because they were in the house. Most of the things I find that I learned, I found in the house. Because they were there. And I was curious and I loved to read. Okay. This one has more of a history to it. And well, let's read it a little bit and then I will get into more of the history of it. Even before there was such a thing as keyword stuffing. This title is pretty darn long, right? Lines composed a few miles above Tintern Abbey on revisiting the banks of the Wye during a tour, July 13th, 1798, as if there's going to be anything left to the imagination after that, right? Otherwise, kind of known shorthand as Wordsworth's Tintern Abbey, right? And that's what you'll see it called from here on out. The 5 years have passed, 5 summers with the length of 5 long winters. And I highlighted that particularly, it's the first line of the poem, and I highlighted that because, man, it feels like we've just experienced 5 long winters in this one winter that we just had. So I thought it was kind of fitting today, right? And as I said, let's look into it a little bit more. 5 years have passed, 5 summers with the length of 5 long winters. And again I hear these waters rolling from their mountain springs with soft inland murmur. Once again do I behold these steep and lofty cliffs that on a wild secluded scene impress thoughts of more deep seclusion and connect the landscape with the quiet of the sky. The day is come when I again repose here under this dark sycamore and view these plots at cottage-ground, these orchard-tufts, which at this season with their unripe fruits are clad in one green hue, and lose themselves mid groves and copse. Once again I see these hedgerows, hardly hedgerows, little lines of sportive wood run across these pastoral farms. Green to the very door, and wreaths of smoke sent up in silence from among the trees with some uncertain notice, as might seem of vagrant dwellers in a houseless woods, or of some hermit's cave where by his fire the hermit sits alone. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. Let's go through it a little bit, and then I'll show you where to find more. Because that's not, with a title that long, there's more to this poem than I was wanting to tackle this way today. So my personal story with this one is it's a twofold one. This is not my first rodeo with Wordsworth. No, my mom used to teach, this poem, but a shorter poem. And let me screen share that one with you. And it's one that you probably, if this one is one that you don't know, then the one that I'm about to show you is probably one that you do know if you know anything about Wordsworth. Aside from the daffodils, this is probably his most famous one, and that is "My heart leaps up. My heart leaps up when I behold a rainbow in the sky. So was it when my life began, so it is now I am a man. So be it when I shall grow old, or let me die. The child is the father of the man, and I could wish my days to be bound each to each in natural piety." And that one is it speaks volumes to me, right? Because, like I said, my mom was great on doing things that were the unexpected, right? And in her teaching, she used to bring me in every year when they went over that. From the time I was a little, there's pictures of me, little tiny toddler, coming in to teach this to teach this to the class, because the child is the father of the man, and it's the child has the wisdom, right? So from a really small age, I was teaching class to a bunch of high school kids, and I was a shy, I was shy in a certain sense, right? I mean, and I still am. I mean, I don't like to answer the telephone. I'm not a party person ever. I really have to pick and choose my socialization. But I'm on a podcast, right? That's fine. I can be up in front and giving a speech, not a problem. And it all comes back to the child is the father of the man. So I had practiced from a really early age, being in front of a whole classroom of high school students. And in other trauma bonding incidents is the Tintern Abbey. And I'm going to share my screen one more time, and then I will show you how huge this poem is and why we only dealt with part of it on this one. When I was 9, I was 9. I was 9. That was the year that my father retired. My stepfather retired from the service, from the military during the Vietnam War, right? And my mom decided, since he got to travel all over the place, it was her time to travel all over the place. And the first thing that we did was we took a trip as a family to Europe at Christmas time, after we'd saved up quarters that year. So we were on a tight budget. And my mom, doing things as she does things by the seat of her pants, doesn't really plan them too well out, especially back in those days. And it was always an adventure. And she just depended on her will, which was immense, and her charisma, which also was immense, to get us through every situation. In a rather, again, trauma bonding, because you're going through it and you're attached to her and it's full speed ahead. And so with this one, we had, my stepfather had spent 2 years in France, where we were supposed to go with him, sort of. There's a long story behind that one. We didn't. And so she ended up being a single mom back in Vienna, Illinois, teaching high school there while he was in France. And then he was sent to Fort Leonard Wood for a bit, and then to Vietnam for 6 tours, right? So with this is her way of wanting to see the sights, wanting to get back a little bit of the glamour that she had before Vienna's farm life, before the kids, when they were first married and they were both at the embassy in Tokyo, Japan, right? So this is what she's trying for. And just like in Japan, there's all these pictures that I'm going through of them doing all these crazy things, because that's kind of that madcap 1950s kind of style that you got going on there, doing things and getting away with it because you're that cute. And that's pretty much what this was. Well, Europe is a little different, especially around the holidays. So what she didn't know was much what she didn't realize, as much as she was this English teacher, and she really had only been an English teacher for a few years at this point. She that was not the she was relatively new to this, and she was pulling her syllabus mostly from her grandfather, who had taught, and some other teachers that she had. So this was her in her young days. And with the Tintern Abbey, Wordsworth, we were coming back from spending a long weekend in France. It was a 2 week, it was 2 week, 10 days that we were in Europe, and when we came back, it was full on Christmas time, right? And what happens in England traditionally is that nobody's home. All the shops are closed. Nobody is home, and everybody goes to the inn or the hotels, or what the public spaces, to have their Christmas. There's a huge Christmas tree, so everybody doesn't have to buy their own Christmas tree, and huge Christmas dinners, so not everybody cooks their own Christmas dinners. It's done like that, but it is planned well in advance, right? And this was in 1970, the Christmas of 1970 in England. Back then, the pubs were still segregated. So the ones that you could get food in, because like all the restaurants are closed, the ones that you could get into, women and children certainly were not allowed, right? And so, yeah, it was real. So here we are coming back. We still have how many days before our plane takes us back to the States? And there's no room at the inn. It's a Christmas story. It's trauma bonding all over again. We thought we were going to have to sleep at Salisbury Airport. I remember that. And it started to snow. And at that time, that was like so rare. It was like if it would snowed in Texas, right? But back in the day, back with the with some of the poetry, that's when they had those unprecedented winters in Europe where it was cold and it did snow. So she's pulling from that. Everybody else, no one else can drive, and then of course it's driving on the wrong side of the road for us. It was quite the trauma. But what happened? Sure enough, her fortune, lucky person that she is. We went to, because she was trying to tick off all the things that she wanted to see because of how she taught, right? So we had already done when we landed in London on making our way to France, we did the trip to Canterbury, and then Dover, and then over. We went over, we crossed from Dover to Calais on the hovercraft back then. That was before the Channel. And then on the way over, we stopped at Rye, and we stopped at, different places, a Banbury for Banbury Cross and the biscuits. And she wanted to see Stonehenge and the Thomas More, which I talked about a couple days ago or was it that yesterday? It becomes a blur with the cat. It was the Elegy of the Churchyard. We stood in the churchyard so she could recite the Elegy of the Churchyard there. And Tintern Abbey, right? Tintern Abbey. So we had to go all the way out to Tintern Abbey thinking, well, there's no place to sleep anyway, so we will probably just go to Tintern Abbey so she can recite this poem at Tintern Abbey and then be back and probably sleep at Salisbury Airport because we were homeless. We were totally homeless at that point. We were the tramps in the woods, right? Which is fitting when you see with the lines of the poems, right? Especially at the very end. But lo and behold, what happened? What happened was Tintern Abbey is in the valley, and then up where Wordsworth is writing this, up on that ridge, right on the bluff there, and he's up on the bluff looking down at Tintern Abbey, and the other is it's actually the old convent. The old convent that went with the abbey, or it's where I'm not sure if it was for the women, the nunnery, or if it was just for for the men as a monastery. It was turned into a bed and breakfast. And guess what? There was one room at the inn. One. We had to share it. But it was, and they had to bring in a little cot for me. But it was the first time I'd experienced goose down, duvets and those bed warmers with the hot coals in them, and that. And it was snowing. And then one of the guests, because you all ate together, bed and breakfast style, right? One of the guests said, "Oh, well, here's the path that Wordsworth took." So we took the path the next day, and it was snowing lightly. I can, it's funny with some of these things. You can just like close your eyes and just see certain points. Now, I can't tell you if we went to Banbury before this, or there's a lot of things that I can't remember, but this I can remember. I can remember going up, and there was a lookout, and there was a tree that had been bent to make a seat. And my mom sat in the seat looking out over this scene that Wordsworth is describing. And she had, normally she memorized stuff, but I remember her taking out a piece of paper because she had this written down. The 5 years have passed, the 5 summers with the length of 5 long winters. And again, I hear these waters rolling from their mountain springs with the soft inland murmur. Once again, I do behold these steep, lofty cliffs that on the wild, secluded scene impress thoughts of more deep seclusion and connect the landscape with the quiet sky, with the quiet of the sky. The day is come when again I repose here under this dark sycamore and view these plots of cottage-ground, these orchard-tufts, which at this season with their unripe fruit are clad in one green hue, lose themselves mid-grow and copse. Once again I see the hedge-rows, hardly hedge-rows, little lines, sportive wood, run wild. These pastoral farms, green to the very door, wreaths of smoke sent up in silence from among the trees, with some uncertain notice, as might seem, of vagrant dwellers in the houseless woods, or of some hermit's cave, where by his fire the hermit sits alone. And again, it goes on and on and on, but that's the part that I remember. That's the part that resonates with me. And I do urge you, I've got the link in the description, to go to the Poetry Foundation and read the whole thing and think those thoughts and tell me what you think. And if you've got a memory of Wordsworth's, like I do, of any of his poems, put it in the comments because we want to know. Also, when we do these live streams, if you hit the bell, you'll notified when I do these live streams. Normally I do them at an hour earlier than I did today, but I've got 3 live streams that I try to do every day, and I was sick yesterday, so that's my excuse for being a little bit late today. But yeah, tell me if it matters or not, to you. The other thing that I was going to tell you is if you come on while I'm on and you've got something to share, I can share with others too. Because to me, poetry is a communal act, right? This is a way to connect Wordsworth's time with our time. And the platform that I'm using, StreamYard, they sent me swag because I won their winner chicken dinner. And I'm going to show you this. So I'm going to put poems, #poems. And what I'm going to show you is if you put stuff in the comments, like I just did, I can show it to you. Now, if you're on Facebook or Twitter, or Facebook or YouTube, this works. It doesn't work on Twitter. But I can put whatever it is that you put there in there. I can also, these are early days, so I haven't quite figured it out for what I'm doing here, but we can do, they've got a giveaway tool. So if I let's see if I can show it to you right quick. I wasn't planning on doing this today, but I wasn't planning on doing a lot today. There's a lot of things that happened today that I wasn't planning on. I wasn't planning on being sick yesterday, but man, I was sick. And so I'm going to share the screen so I can show you what I'm doing over here. Present, share screen. Because why not? It's a day to share all the behind the scenes things. So hopefully you can see that. See, when I do a live stream, any live stream, you can see I got a few of them that I've got going on here. Here we go. Wordsworth's Tintern Abbey is live, and I can say, what is going to be my text? Well, what did I say? Poems, right? Because it's natural poetry month, so I can just put poems right in there, and then I can start collecting comments. And then from right now, oh, it's got one entry. Oh, because it pulled my poems, because I did the poems, right? It's got that right there. So it needs another entry. So somebody can, if somebody else did another entry, then it would do. Well, let's see if it's not gonna. It won't let you draw because there's only one entry. We need more than one entry to do a drawing, and then I need to figure out what the heck the drawing is for, right? I could. What would you like as a drawing for this? I could read your favorite poem. That could be a drawing. I could record. I could record a poem for your answering machine. With the other ones, I was thinking of, I love these cups. So I do have a few of these cups. I was thinking, I could give away cups. I could give away, different swag. I don't know. Haven't figured it out. You let me know. I want to hear from you anyway. I want to hear what you think about poetry. I want to hear what you think about old-fashioned literature. All the things that I'm doing on this are going to be in the public domain, which means that they are well over 100 years old. All right. Well, have a blessed day, and if you stick around, if you're around, I do three. One is currently. One is, and there's going to be there'll be spoiler alert. There'll be 6 that I do eventually on the daily, really short ones, and then expand into more substantive content during with some of the channels. But I do a Wake Up Winona one, which is local here. That's at 6 o'clock in the morning Central, and then this one. And then I do Chicory Chicks, which was meant as a writing prompt. So if you're a writer and you want to be prompted, I've got some quotes, and it's only 10 minutes. Take 10 at 10 for a coffee break. So you can join us over at Chicory Chicks. In fact, if you go on my main page here, since you're here at Startlingly True, you'll see at the bottom are links to some of the older ones, because I started that project on this channel, and there's links in the bottom there to the other channel, the Chicory Chicks channel, and they're also available on the podcast, the Google YouTube podcast. That's a new thing, and once I get my rhythm down, maybe we'll expand to some of the other podcasts as well, the Apples and things like that. But right now, this is still highly experimental, and it's a great practice for me. So thank you for playing along. All right, have a blessed day.